Omajnana Timrandasya Jananana Shalakaya Shakshurun Amena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So, wanted to first of all thank the temple management, particularly Chadbut Chaitanya Prabhu, for giving me this opportunity to speak something in the glorification of the Lord and His devotees, as well as for my own purification. So if it come across as if I'm advising you, I'm actually advising myself. So that is true. It is said in the scriptures that when Sukhadev Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, it is actually glorious to the speaker because he gets to glorify the Lord. At the same time, the people who are listening in the assembly, they also get purified. So, and one who speaks in this Vyasasan should not think that he is instructing others. That's how it's presented in the scriptures. He is actually Krishna's eagerness to give that message to the people who are assembled. And through that speaker, that eagerness and the message goes. So the speaker acts as a kind of a conduit at the end of the day. So with that kind of approach or consciousness, today's topic is what I picked was gratitude. Before I go into the subject, I think Ram Tirtha Prabhu spoke about life and pastimes of Ramanujacharya last week, and you are supposed to today being addressed by His Grace Amarendra Prabhu. So I'm following right after that. So it's a tough ask. So please bear with me if I'm not able to fulfill your expectations. It's also a disappointment for me that he's not here today. So I picked gratitude only because Thanksgiving is approaching us next week. So I was giving some thought. So Thanksgiving, gratitude kind of tied in for me. So I thought we'll pick that topic. So let's talk very briefly about Thanksgiving. Hari Prabhu, just keep a timer on me in case. 12:25, just let me know. So Thanksgiving was celebrated first. How many of you know when? History, if any of you know, any of you are a history student here. When was first? Maybe Mataji might know. Thanksgiving. Nobody? So Thanksgiving was first celebrated in October 1621. Wow, you said that? I didn't hear you. Sorry. So paying good attention in school, I think. So it was actually known for celebration by the English colonies. They were also referred to as pilgrims. It was supposed to be a cultural tradition for them. But it turned out to be something else as years progressed. Along with the colonies or the pilgrims bear with my pronunciation, it's the Wampanoag warriors. Am I saying it correctly? Those of you know what I'm saying. So they are, yeah, it's Wampanoag, Wampanoag. I think that's how it's pronounced. So about 53 pilgrims and 90 odd warriors got together and celebrated Thanksgiving. The event was the first harvestation, that fall, sorry. So they wanted to celebrate the harvestation, and this festival went on for 3 days at that time. So there's a vivid description. Actually, there's a book that came out recently by an author, and she has added more color to this. It became a national holiday under Lincoln, President Lincoln, in November 1863. Until then, it was not like a holiday. So what does Thanksgiving really mean? My understanding, and and any of you can correct me, I'm not fully familiar with this, other than the fact that I come and have a nice prasadam here. So, but Thanksgiving is generally a mood for expressing our gratitude. It is set to that Christian God. And also it is meant for families and friends to come together and share a moment of quietness, thanking each other for everything they do for each other. And also have a nice time, obviously. So that seems like good. But the bad part is every year on Thanksgiving Day, they sacrifice about 41 million turkeys. And I was trying to understand why turkey, and I got the answer that turkey is a symbol of American national prowess. I'm still trying to relate to that statement. But that's why they chose turkey. Don't ask me any more questions on that. So that is Thanksgiving. But the good thing for Vaishnavas and devotees is it's a day where we come together and thank each other. And we used to have one such day, right, Prabhu? Every year. We used to have a day for Thanksgiving. And devotees all come together and thank each other.
What do you mean we used to have? Don't we still have?
Well, certain years it is, I don't want to pick on Ram Tirtha Prabhu, but some years I didn't see it happen, but it's not their fault. I mean, because people go for shopping and out of town and all that, so it becomes a little bit of a problem. But that is the mood for Vaishnavas. You know, we come together, it is said that you glorify other Vaishnava, you make spiritual progress. And not only that, genuinely, not just for the sake of glorifying. So that is the mood of Thanksgiving. And I said, okay, maybe gratitude makes sense. And I picked this topic. And if you see throughout the history of the Vaishnava Sampradaya, especially some of our acharyas and the devotees in that line of parampara, they have to a great extent lived by this gratitude character qualification. So what does gratitude really mean? The Latino word refers to the quality of showing appreciation, quality, not just showing appreciation, quality of showing appreciation, and return kindness to people. So that is gratitude. And as Vaishnava, so who is a Vaishnava? Before I go ahead, just want to ask if anybody is new here, anyone coming for the first time? Okay, other than the veteran, anybody? Yeah, okay, there's nobody, so I don't have to really talk about basic things, right? Just making sure. So Vaishnava means one who doesn't care. I mean, there are so many definitions, but the summum bonum of it, as I understand, is a Vaishnava is one who doesn't care whether he's hell or in heaven, who doesn't care whether he's enjoying or not enjoying. It is the Lord's pleasure, ultimately. That's what he lives for, and to spread the message of the Lord. He or she is willing to undertake any kind of trouble, inconvenience. But the mood is to please the Lord, please the devotees, and show infinite, of course we are not like Lord Chaitanya, but show that attitude of compassion to people. That's one who is a Vaishnava is. Of course, you can add more and more to that. It's a much bigger definition. But at the end of the day, it is that, right? Willing to take the risk, make the sacrifice. So let's talk very briefly about Krishna consciousness. So there are three things here. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is our eternal Father. And we are this Atma, a minute particle of him. And we are eternal too in our relationship with him. And the only way, the scripture says this again and again, the only way to have that happiness in life that we are seeking is by serving the Lord. So that's where we were. That's where we were supposed to be. Then one may ask, what are we doing here in this planet? where we seem to have us as the central figure of everything. It's our pleasure, our moods, we feel like, we don't feel like, there are so many things, right? So that is because we have lost that that eternal relationship. There is nothing to build a relationship here, but there is so much to revive that relationship that was lost. That relationship always existed, it will always exist. But it just happened that we happen to be in a coma. We just forgot about that. And we are leading our own life, right? So, what is the process by which we can revive that relationship? Rupa Goswami says pure devotional service. So what is pure devotional service? According to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, verse 6, and those of you who are like remembering verses, maybe you can help me. Saro, okay.
I don't know, is that the one?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, but I don't know that. The verse by memory.
Salvai pungsa paro dharmo,
Okay. So what does that really mean? It means that the supreme occupation or dharma. So we all understand what dharma means, right? So dharma of sugar is being sweet. The dharma of water to be is colorless or tasteless. So the supreme occupation or dharma of living entities is to offer that loving devotional service to the transcendental Lord. But there is one condition. You can offer loving devotional service, but it has to be uninterrupted and it has to be unmotivated. So it's not a condition just to make you suffer. It's a condition so that by doing in that mood, you can attain that self-satisfaction that you're seeking. Self-satisfaction leads to happiness, right? So if you're not self-satisfied, if you look at it to some degree in this world, most of the problems that we face from others may not be because of others. It is because we are unhappy, we cause problems to them, and then the reaction comes right back at us, right? To some extent, we contribute to our own problems because we are not happy at the end of the day. And that is reflected in so many ways. So this verse reminds us how to be happy and content in this life. It is only by performing pure devotional service. Now, pure devotional service also means if you read Prabhupada's purports, he constantly says loving devotional service. He just doesn't say devotional service. So what is the difference? So when you board, for those of us who go to India, right, we board Emirates. I picked that airline only because I think it was rated number 1 recently. If anybody knows about the ratings. I think 2019, am I right, Prabhu, Chandra Prabhu? Emirates was rated very highly. Or Qatar, I think that was right after that. So when you board Emirates Airlines, you'll see that, and when you settle down, put your baggage, they come and the hospitality starts, right, non-stop throughout the flight. And on top of that, sometimes you may push the bell, say, I need help. They immediately come, sir, did you push the bell? Yes. Can you get me hot water? This is not hot. So they go and get it. Then when they give some dish, especially for some of us, we like it to be tasty, right? Then we say, can you make it like this? And they try to please you. Do you think that's unmotivated, uninterrupted, loving, devotional service? I mean, it is. I mean, to some extent they are genuine. They try to please you as customer, but there is a motivation. The motivation is you'll come back and board that same airline next time, right? So it's quality of service, customer satisfaction, so many things we say, but there is a motivation associated with this. Whereas,
Quid pro quo.
Okay, this takes us to a very different topic. So, having said that, what is pure loving devotional service? Pure loving devotional service is you don't have any motivation, you don't have an agenda why you serve the Lord. You serve the Lord because you want to please the Lord, no matter what, right? It's uncontaminated. And loving means you do it with love. Whether you come and dress the deities or whether you dress Srila Prabhupada, or whether you sing kirtan, whether you give a class, I mean, or whatever service you do, it could be washing the dishes, it's with love. That's what the Lord is looking for. And if that love is not there, I mean, what is the problem if the love is not there? Love is not there, then it affects your chanting. Short answer. Right? We'll see the connection later. Because chanting is the lifeline of our devotional service. Everything culminates there. Lord Chaitanya said two things in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said so many things, but two things, he kind of boiled it down, and he said, you always have to chant the holy names of the Lord, Krishna, and he showed us how. And he said, you should not offend devotees. You should not pick on them. Offend meaning you should not find fault. Because human nature, we have the tendency to find fault in others, right? Now, that puts a constraint on the temple management, because sometimes they have to do constructive criticism. So, I mean, that's okay. Your constructive criticism should come across. There was a Prabhu by name Jayendra Prabhu. He's not here now. He's in Michigan. Forget his initiated name. Do you know his initiated name?
Jay Sachinandan.
Jay Sachinandan Das. So, Jayendra Prabhu once told me, he is well versed in script. He reads verses and purports. He remembers so much. And he told me once, it is not what you say to a particular person in terms of criticism. It is what is the mood. Your mood is to serve him, not to get this kick out of giving him a stick and watching the fun, right? So it's like to rip apart. That's what they say, right? Your mood is not to rip him apart, but your mood is to help him. But sometimes help has to be tough love. And we have seen in the interaction of Srila Prabhupada with his devotees, it's not always, loving exchange. Sometimes you'll be very tough on devotees, but the mood is to always to serve them. So, having said that, in the interest of time, I just want to move forward. So this is basics of Krishna consciousness. Now, having said that, gratitude, because we are talking about loving devotional service, gratitude has a very special significance. Why? Unless we are grateful, we are not going to be able to attract Krishna's mercy. So we went through month of Kartik. We discussed Damodar Leela almost every other day or every day. We sang the nice Damodar Ashtakam. So what is one of the lessons learned from Damodar Ashtakam? Devotees need two things, mercy and endeavor. And we also hear in Chaitanya Charitamrita repeatedly, mercy is always there. It's just we have to tap into it. It's like a radio station. We just have to tune to it. That is also true. But mercy doesn't flow if you don't have gratitude. There is a connection. So far, everybody is with me on that point? So, in order to attract that infinite mercy, so one way we are saying that we call out the names of the Lord. And the easiest way of calling out the names of the Lord is by chanting the holy name of the Lord, which goes by Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, when we chant, we are literally calling out the names of Krishna, and he appears. Rupa Goswami says, he appears on your tongue. But if we don't have gratitude, that medicine, which is supposed to flow as a part of chanting that holy name, is inhibited. It's like you taking has anybody taken 800 mg not allopurinol, what is that called? Ibuprofen. Has anybody has a high dose of ibuprofen? Anytime? You have? Okay. So if you go to stores, they give 200 mg. But if you want to get 800 mg when you have pain, you have to go to a doctor because they won't give it without prescription. But sometimes that medicine may not act. Why? Because your system is weak. It cannot take it. Same thing with digestive system, right? You may eat the best of food, best of vegetables, best of juice. I mean, when we came for Ekadasi, I mean, Prabhu had made a nice mint drink, right? And the fruit salad was mango and some dressing. It was very nice. We are eating all this rich food, but if your digestion is weak, according to Ayurveda, the nutrients goes out, right? We are not able to absorb it. Likewise, if you don't have gratitude, all that mercy that is flowing, you're not able to absorb it. And that medicine, which is supposed to go into your heart, chanting the holy name is like a medicine. It's supposed to cleanse you. It has no effect. That's why people sometimes may chant for a number of years and they may not see a change. So this is what I learned in the process of knowing more about gratitude. So gratitude also means we should not complain. So there are a number of things in life we can be grateful for, but there are a number of things we don't want it and we start complaining. Now, that's human nature. So that's why Lord Brahma, in his prayers to Krishna in the 10th canto, you got to pull up my phone here, sorry. I know some of you may know this sloka by heart. So it's a very famous sloka Prabhupada quotes all the time in his lectures. It is canto 10, chapter 14, verse 8. And it goes by Tatenu kampam sushamikkamano bunjana evana kritam vipakam hridvakva purbir vidadam namaste jivete yo mukti padasa dayabak. Sorry, I have to use some assistance for all that. I'm not going to remember that. So what is the essence of this verse? Lord Brahma is praying. He's praying for us. I mean, this is how we need to pray every time. What does it say? That, Lord, no matter what comes in my life, what kind of challenge, adversity, tough situations comes in my life, I invite them with folded arms, with gratitude. And I'm grateful for you. He's saying, you put all these problems in my life and I'm grateful for you for doing that. Why is he praying like this? Has anybody thought about it? Quick question. Why would we like to invite challenges and problems as if we don't have enough in our life? And I'm sorry.
You were asking?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So in problems, the mood and the intensity increases.
Oh, to surrender to the Lord? Yeah, that's
Could
one.
you repeat? 'Cause we didn't hear.
Why would you invite problems in your life with gratitude? Oh, he said our intensity in devotional service increases. Did I summarize it correctly? So we tend to surrender more to the Lord. That's also a very important point. Yes, that's why Krishna challenges us, our comfort level, our comfort zone. He gives all these problems, so we tend to go here. So there is another reason why this happens. Because at the end of the day, we need purification. Because we are taken this human body after I don't know how many lifetimes. And then even in the human life, we have taken multiple human bodies. And by taking these various human bodies throughout the evolution, we get conditioned. So we develop, so what is conditioning? We develop different propensities. So in my previous life, I would have watched sports very much, football game. So naturally, when I come out of the womb, I take an interest in sports, like maybe a little later, right? So that's why you see people have different propensity. And some people have bad habits that gets cultivated. All of us have, sorry, not some. And then the bad habits is also a conditioning of the past, right? So, and if that's what it is, that's okay. But then our whole concept, how we think, how we act, everything gets contaminated as a result. And that reflects in our action. So Vaishnava is what? One who serves the Lord through mind, body, and what's the third one?
Heart.
Thought.
Heart.
Heart.
Rig Bhagavad.
Speech. So, but if that speech and mind, everything is contaminated, then what will be the resulting action, right? So, we need purification. Short answer. So, all these problems that comes, that's why if you see all the devotees, when you read Srimad Bhagavatam, this is like a continuous theme. They are not worried about facing problems. So, Lord Ramachandra, let's start there, Treta Yuga, so we have Ram Leela specialist there. He can tell us more. So we have Jatayu. Jatayu is a vulture. Normally there is no adjectives to describe a vulture. You know, it feasts on fish and maybe even human remnants. Nobody says be like a vulture. So, but the same Jatayu, it was very close to the King Dasharath's family, including Lord Ramachandra. And when Sita was stolen by Ravana, Jatayu said, I cannot watch this, I'd rather die. So it attacked Ravana, it fought very hard, we all know the story. Then Ravana cuts off its wings and it falls to the ground. And it's in a bloody pool. And Sita Devi showed a lot of gratitude at that time. But she was taken away. And Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman returns searching for Sita, and they find Jatayu in a pool of blood. And Lord Ram hugged it. And he was so grateful for Jatayu for offering that kind of a service. And he personally did the final rites to that bird. That was the mood of gratitude for Lord Ramachandra. So the other place where gratitude comes into place is like we just celebrated Kartik month, Damodara Leela. There you see Krishna feeding the monkeys with butter. That was out of gratitude, right? So when in Ramayana, when the bridge was being built, all the monkeys came together and helped him. And since he was deserted to the forest or abandoned to the forest, he didn't have anything. He was a king, but he didn't have anything to give them. But he remembered that. And when Krishna Leela happened, he fed those same monkeys with butter. That's another example. The other example of gratitude is Kolaveshwar Sridhar in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we all know how Kolaveshwar Sridhar and Lord Chaitanya, they had this very intimate relationship. Lord Chaitanya will always bargain with him, fight with him. He had that kind of a mood. But Kolaveshwar Sridhar had a small hut. So if you ever go to Mayapur Yatra, you will see that. It's near the Lord Jagannath's temple. It's called Raj something. I forget the other. I'm sorry? Rajapur. Thank you. So in Rajapur, somewhere close by, you will see Kolaveshwar Sridhar. They take you on the yatra. You can go to see that place where he lived. So there he used to have a clay pot. In India, it is a common practice to store water in clay pot. It's cool. And he had his. So he had a lota, as we call it, or a tumbler, where he used to drink. So Lord Chaitanya one day said, I'm thirsty, and he came right, picked up that lota, and he started drinking. Kolaveshwar Sridhar, out of humility, he became very sad. He said, Lord, you cannot use this cup to drink water. And the Lord said, no, this is the best water I've ever tasted. And this is where the devotion is. So the Lord wants to taste your devotion, not how much money you are offering or how much service you're doing. If devotion is missing in the service, He's not accepting it, right? So Kolaveshwar Sridhar could have just said something just for the sake of offering gratitude, but he felt unconscious. How many of us fall unconscious when we are overcome with gratitude? So that's another example, the Vaishnavas teach us. So gratitude and humility goes hand in hand. How much time I have, Hari? 12 hours. So gratitude, in order to um, in order to nourish gratitude, we need to have humility. You cannot have one without the other. So let's analyze humility. What is humility? In the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada defines humility. Humility means, paraphrasing, it is someone who is not anxious to be honored by others. Right? If you think about the definition, you're not anxious to be honored by others. So the opposite is pride, right? So why do we have pride? It is part of when you take this human body, you get mind, and then you also get a false ego, right? If that false ego is not controlled, pride comes in. And if the pride is not controlled, lust increases. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And if lust is not controlled, what happens? You become angry because it's unfulfilled. And once you become angry, you lose your intelligence. And once you lose your intelligence, it's the beginning of the end, right? So it's kind of go in a steady, steep fall from there, right? So why is this important to us, and why did Krishna take the time to explain to Arjuna? As Vaishnavas, we have to be very careful about this pride and false ego, so that we don't offend devotees. Earlier we talked about, Lord Chaitanya said two things: chant the holy name of the Lord always, and do not offend devotees. And if you have this pride, you will invariably offend devotees sometime or the other. So we have to be very careful. And the only way to conquer humility is, again, the answer is the same, is through loving devotional service of the Lord. So, in the same Ramayana, it's interesting. You know the story of Vali and Sugriva, and how Sugriva was living in exile, in fear. I don't want to go into the details, but do you know that background of that story, right? So I'll start the story from this point onwards, where Sugriva is in exile. Lord Ramachandra and Lakshman, they were looking for Sita, but in the process they helped him to come out of exile. And the kingdom gets restored in his name. He takes over the kingdom from Vali, thinking that Vali has died. So Lord Ram actually helped him in so many ways up until that point. And Lord Ram also asked him, can you help me to find Sita? And he agreed. But then when he went back to the kingdom, he completely forgot about it. And that was the time where they had this rainy season, and Lord Ramachandra could not do anything. He was just meditating on Sita in a cave. When they went to the Hampi Yatra, they went to that cave recently, 2014. His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj took them to that place where Lord Ram was meditating. So once the rainy season got over, he came out of it. But then Sugriva was not there, because he by now got used to the pleasures of the kingdom, and he was enjoying, he was having a drink equivalent to Varuna, I don't know what it is, he drank at that, and he was totally off, and he completely forgot about it. Lakshman got really angry. And at that time, Lord Ram made a statement to Lakshman, and he said, the wildest attribute of human character is not to be grateful. This is coming from the Lord, right? I just want to touch upon that point. Even the Lord, although he took the human form, it's an instruction to us. Of course, they somehow addressed that, Lakshman addressed that problem, but it's important that even the Lord made a comment about how to be grateful, right? And what are the pitfalls of not being grateful. So, in this regard, I wanted to share a pastime. When Ram Tirtha Prabhu spoke about Ramanujacharya, Prabhu, did you speak about the Yamunacharya pastime? Okay, thank you. Then so I was going to call and ask you, but I forgot. So we're doing it live. So since Prabhu didn't speak, so it's nice that all of you can hear, and it's not a repetition. So Yamunacharya, we all know the story. His father, I should remember that name. I don't know. One second. Are you here 15 more minutes?
Yeah, you have 7 more minutes.
7?
12:25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
12 minutes. Okay, good. That sounds encouraging. So, Yamunacharya's father, he he was in South India. He was in Madurai. He got married to this nice lady. In those days, honeymoon means they used to go on a pilgrimage. They didn't go to Hawaii or Orlando or any of those, or New Zealand, but they went to yatras like this. So they were in South India, in Madurai. They went all the way to North India. They went to Yamuna. And after coming back from that yatra, Yamunacharya was born, and that's why his name is Yamunacharya. Of course, in Tamil, we can talk a little bit more in detail, but I don't want to lose you. You can remember him for the time being as Yamunacharya, right? So, Yamunacharya lost his father right away, like within a few years. And he surrendered to this guru in Madurai, who was preaching, obviously, the Sri Sampradaya philosophies. And he was very affectionate towards his guru. He was grateful to his guru. He was very learned at that age. He was very scholarly. And just because he's scholarly, he was not puffed up. He never used to fight with any of the, at that age you can sometimes get into those arguments, but none of it with Yamunacharya. He was very compassionate. So, and there was this Pandit called Kolahala, who was the Pandit, Digvijay Pandit for King Pandya. And he was very scholarly too. But Kolahala had a lot of pride. And because of his pride, he used to go out and challenge other scholars. You have to fight him. You have no choice. You cannot say no. So when they fought him, and if they get defeated, he will make them his subject, which means you have to work for him. It's not bad for unemployment, but it's okay. You can work for him as a subject. But then he will also charge you taxes. And that tax will go to King Pandya. And King Pandya was very fond of Kolahala. And whatever he said, he agreed. So this became a rule. But not all these scholarly people, they are brahmanas. They are living by donations and things like that. So they didn't have the money to pay. So some people wouldn't pay. And the rule is, if you didn't pay after some time, you may even be jailed or you may even lose your life. That was the danger. So same thing happened to Yamunacharya's guru. And one day, Kolahala sent his people, he's like IRS, collecting taxes from everybody, right? So he came and knocked on his Guru Maharaj's door, and he was not there on that day. And he said, where is your Guru? He said, he's not here. He has not paid for taxes for 2 years. If he continues like that, we may have to take him and put him in jail. And Yamunacharya asked him, who are you? He was 12-year-old. He didn't know a lot. He said, you don't know who we are? We are disciples of Kolahala. Who is Kolahala? And they got bewildered. They said, this young fellow is asking questions. You don't know who Kolahala is? He's the greatest Pandit on the face of planet. How can he ask that such a question? Yamunacharya said, he must be also the greatest fool. Because if your disciples, you are behaving like this, then how will he be? So tell that Kolahala that I will fight him. So the news spread. King Pandya, he heard this and he was very surprised. But at the same time, if somebody accepts a challenge, you have to invite him. So those days when you invite a scholarly person for a debate, you have to send a palanquin, and some 10 brahmanas will chant mantras in front of him. They'll bring him along. And Yamunacharya demanded it. He was not shy about it. He said, ask him to send the palanquin, then I'll come. Right? So he got onto the palanquin, he went there, and then when there's assembly, so there was like, Radhanath Maharaj calls it like a cricket match. He said, so there was people favoring Kolahala and there was people favoring the Digvijay Pandit. So people were murmuring among themselves, Kolahala will squash him like an ant. And somebody else said, he will be like Vamanadev teaching him a lesson to Bali Maharaj. Meanwhile, the king and the queen are debating. The king said, Kolahala will win in no time. It'll be like a cat and the mouse game. He'll play with him for a while, then he will beat him. And the queen said, he will be, Yamunacharya will be like a fly who enters into the mouth of fire and who lights up. So once you spread the fire, right, it lights up the whole mountain. He'll be like that. And king said, if he really defeats Kolahala, I'll give him half the kingdom. The queen says, if the Kolahala defeats him, I'll become your servant of your maidservant. So this is the bet, gaming, internet gambling going on at the back. So the match starts. Kolahala first goes and asks him question. First he has pity on him, like Yamunacharya, 12-year-old boy, looking very innocent. So he starts with small questions, like less difficult questions. Yamunacharya answers it as fast as they came. Then he increased the complexity of the question. He raised the bar, kept raising the bar. Every time he answered the question, no problem. At one point, Kolahala got exhausted. He couldn't ask any more questions because he answered all of them. Now it was Yamunacharya's turn. And he looked at Kolahala and said, I'm going to make 3 proposals. You have to defeat it. The first one is, your mother is a barren woman. Sorry, the other way around. Your mother is not a barren woman, meaning he has to defeat saying she is barren. How can he say she is barren? She has given birth to him. So first down, right? Then the second question, he says, the Pandya king is noble and wise ruler. Which means he is not a noble and he has to defeat him. Saying he's not noble, he's not wise, he's all of it, right? How can he say that? King Pandya is right behind him. He'll be put in jail. He will lose his position. He gets angry now. And he said, okay, you cannot answer the second one. He goes to the third. He says, the queen of this Pandya kingdom, who's sitting right there, she is a chaste woman. Chaste and a beautiful, which means she is not chaste. How can he say that? How can he defeat that? If he proves that, he is gone. So now he gets to, his anger kept building as these questions were asking. And he said, you rascal. He tells in front of the king. He shows to the king, you should have never invited him. He doesn't have any etiquette. He doesn't know who he is talking to. And he is violating the rules of this game. He should be right away put in jail or even be killed. Then Yamunacharya said, I thought you were so much learned in scriptures and you are a scholarly person. So let me give you the answer. Everything is based on Manu Samhita. So some people here may have a problem. They may say it was something that was followed in the olden days. But Manu Samhita is still the rule of law in Indian government. They follow it in some policies and rules that they have developed. So the first thing he says is, yes, Prabhu.
Everyone can go up so the people behind you.
I couldn't see it, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
So please come forward, that's what Prabhu is saying, so that there is enough space. So your mother is not a Baron, so the answer is your mother is barren. That's what he needs to say. And according to Mani Samhita, if a woman gives birth to just one kid, in that context, she's a barren woman, right? Second question, the king is chaste. I'm sorry, the king is a noble ruler. So according to Manu Samhita, a king shares 1/6 of the good karma and 1/6 of the bad karma. That's true to even our presidents here, according to scriptures, right? So you inherit good karma and bad karma of the people. Being in Kali Yuga at that time, Kali Yuga already started, 1/6 of bad karma is more than 1/6 of good karma. Therefore, he is not a noble ruler. Number 3, the queen is not a chaste woman. The king, a Pandya king, or for that matter any king those days, they are considered as a representative of demigods. So how many demigods do we have? Can anybody name? Got Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Agni. So like that you have multiple demigods. So she's serving the king, which means she's also indirectly becomes servitor of all those demigods. Therefore, she's not a chaste woman. So at that time, that's how he got this name. The queen says Alavandara. In Tamil means one who has come to conquer. So he gets the name Alavandara, right? So after that, the king gives him half the kingdom, and he becomes a great ruler. And then the story proceeds. But I would like to cut short here. This is an example of how a disciple shows gratitude to his guru, right? So we are also in this position where we have, Srila Prabhupada has given us books. He has given us all the knowledge, and we show him gratitude by preaching it to others and restore people back home, back to Godhead. With that, I will stop this narration. Thank you very much. I think we are already up for time. Is there any questions, or should we go to Kirtan? Prabhu?
So I was informed that there's 33 million demigods. That's a lot of demigods.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's not just for this universe? I was going to say they manage each blade of grass.
Yes, Prabhu.
I just wanted to add, it's not a question.
Okay.
And, since we are talking about gratitude and we have given a lot of examples, Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita 10.10 says that if you are doing service unto me, you will give the understanding to get to come back.
Very good point. Sure. Yeah. That's not quid pro quo, right? Yeah.
So, one question. Very nice discourse.
Thank you.
So if you look at our lives, everything is like the causeless mercy. Even today, I have a body itself. It's because Lord Krishna I pursued. And I went through all my dharmas, whatever is it. Every aspect of my life, Krishna was there. That's why today I am what I am today. So how much of gratitude I should be having towards Krishna? But the exact opposite thing happens. Just whenever I come, the first thing is, how can I get something more from him? I don't have any gratitude of what he has given me. So why is that? Is that this relation to this?
Sorry, I heard some of it. I couldn't hear everything from here. But if I have to summarize the question to the audience, so you're saying that in so many lifetimes, Krishna has given you his mercy, either through his devotees or through the books. The understanding is because you were a devotee in the previous lifetime, now you are continuing from where you left. So he's giving repeatedly mercy, life after life after life, but you still don't have that complete gratitude to surrender onto him. Is that the question, Prabhu? So why is that happening? So Krishna consciousness is relative, and it's very personal. It's personal to every individual. So you see that there are some devotees, like not long ago here, I forget their initiated name again, please bear with me. Shivani and Shivangi, you know them, right? Yeah, thank you. Shama Gopi and Shama Saki. So they came to the temple, and to the best of my memory, within a week, they were peaking. They were chanting slokas. I mean, it's almost like phenomenal growth. And then they continue to develop from there. So compared to someone like me, it took me about 10, 12 years to get into the groove and appreciate a lot of things. So why is that? One can ask, right? So it depends on the extent of sincerity and application one has in terms of following the principles. So it is clearly said by Rupa Goswami that this process works. Please do not question or even doubt. In fact, he says the fact that you're doubting, that is the biggest crime, right? But if you follow the process exactly, right? I mean, we are not gopis where we are always thinking about Krishna, right? So we have been given 4 regulative principles, and we have been given the ABCD, which is association with devotees, reading books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, chanting the holy name, visiting a holy place, but our home could be a holy place, right? So all those, he said, out of 64 principles, which he says in Nectar of Devotion, 5 elements are important, which is what we just said. So if you just follow this and honor prasadam, then there is no doubt that you will make progress. Even prasadam prayer is actually a mode of gratitude. So that is my understanding. If anybody do you want to add, Mataji, anything more to that question?
No, I had a different comment, if that's okay, or a question.
Okay, it's 11:35. Sorry, 12:35. Go ahead.
It's just about, I really like what you were saying about not complaining.
Yeah.
And it's actually part of the self-discipline of the mind. So in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, verse 16, Krishna talks about the self-discipline of the mind, and the first thing he says is mana prasada, speaking of prasada, that the mind is satisfied. And it's not just even how we speak, but it's how we feel internally, that our mind will feel satisfied. That's part of the, so if we don't feel that naturally, it's part of our self-discipline of the mind is to feel satisfied, and part of that is feeling grateful. So I felt that was a really good connection that you made between feeling grateful and not complaining. And actually, if we take time to write down all the things that we have to be grateful for, then it helps us to it really helps to actually feel satisfied.
Sure. I'll just make one quick comment. 2 things. I forgot to say, I had this in my notes, but I forgot. Some years ago, and I'm not trying to embarrass this person, some years ago, Rajavakti Mataji gave a class. And there was a time where she had to go from US to India for some reason. I couldn't remember the reason now. And there, she didn't have the association with devotees. She didn't have the association with. So the reason I make this point is because we take things for granted. So she mentioned in the class that how important it is that we realize that we are given everything here. Here in Columbus, we probably live 15, 20 minutes max, maybe some people 30 minutes. We have access to temple. The Lord is so merciful. He is waiting for us here in the dancing form. And Prabhupada is here, books is here, prasadam is here. But sometimes we can take it for granted. Sometimes we can, it becomes a routine, right? So Mataji said in that lecture how she badly felt when she was in India, when there was no association, nothing. Then she literally cried out to the Lord, and something else happened, which we don't have time to describe. So that is one thing. The other thing is Shishtashtakam. That is the final 8 prayers Lord Chaitanya wrote before he left this world. And one of the important ones is an expression of gratitude, which goes like Trinarapi Sunichena, Saroriva Sahishuna, Amanina Manadena, Kirtanya Sara Sadahiri. Translation is, always be tolerant like a tree, humble like a blade of grass. And the next two is very difficult. Always give respect to others, expect nothing in return. He says if you chant in this mood, you will definitely, you'll be able to absorb the mercy that comes from that chanting. That is an expression of gratitude. I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.